ब्रह्मचर्य व्रती दंडी सर्ववेदांत पंडित श्रीमद्विवेक योगी मां प्रचोदयतु सर्वदा. Namaste. First and foremost, my thanks to IYA for giving me this very grand opportunity to air my views on the empowerment of women and yoga especially. I will start my talk making a very important declaration that I am proud to be a woman, and whatever janmas, births I have in future, I would like to be born as a woman, because understanding the potential of womanhood through the Hindu traditions, I have discovered the shortcut to divinity. I am proud to belong to a tradition which gave humanity the most beautiful and potent formula, Matra Devo Bhava, in which is hidden a dharmic blueprint for the welfare of the entire humanity. With the rishis of ancient India, I repeat with fullness of heart, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matra Rupena Samsthita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha. In between these two magnificent declarations from our Hindu tradition lie the origin and development of the wonderfully all-inclusive Hindu spiritual tradition, which could conceive of the whole universe as one family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, based on the spiritual solidarity of all that exists in the universe. For some, life is just a dream. For some, human life, is to enjoy the material wealth and all that it brings, pleasures and so on. But for a rare few, life is to realize the divinity within and manifest it outside for the welfare of oneself and the humanity. For the latter, life is a yoga, a sadhana of expansion to reach out to the supreme truth. Empowerment comes naturally to this last group. To achieve expansion and move onwards in evolution, all yogas are helpful. At the most, the speed may differ. That's all. That depends again, what we call the speed, depends on the sincerity and surrender of the person and his or her ability to imbibe the yoga spirit unto oneself and make it part of that person's, his or her work, love and knowledge. Women in whom the Almighty has implanted the rare ability of nourishing and nurturing another life is the best of God's creations, one of the most magnificent and at the same time mysterious. Unfortunately, caught in the purely materialistic distractions, little is she aware today that she has latent within her the fountainhead of truth, the discovery and unfoldment of which can assure not only her own well-being but of the world around her. Ignorance and neglect of this potential has turned her today into a problem for herself and for the men around her. Is a woman superior to man? Does she have a separate identity? Is she in need of empowerment, emancipation? All these questions are irrelevant once the women discover their true identity and start playing an effective role in transmitting the great spiritual message through their lives to their children and to the entire world community. This is all the more true of Hindu women because in no other spiritual tradition is womanhood endowed with so much of holiness, authority, potency. Yet, sad to say, the Hindu womanhood, like its counterpart elsewhere, stands today much discredited. What is there so special about the true womanhood that I am proud of as a Hindu woman, as I said? Right understanding of Hindu womanhood means understanding the grand, universal and highly relevant values of the true Hindu spiritual heritage, the relevance of which for the survival of humanity is becoming increasingly clear day by day. The great Hindu tradition is based on the potential power in the human mind to expand into global awareness, not in physical terms, but spiritually, enfolding within it the three ennobling virtues of love, sacrifice, and service. This forms the core of Hindu Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, which is also based on values of life principles that should govern the unfoldment of one's personality and one's interactions with community and with nature. These are the qualities of life centered in the respect of life in totality. It is a universal level, life in totality, not for humans alone, life in totality. All these and more are naturally and safely deposited in the women. Empowerment or liberation of women should therefore mean developing this awareness and its manifestation in a most effective way, bringing deep spiritual fulfillment within and creating peace and harmony without. Every being is born with a special part to play in the universal drama of life, whether it is man or woman. That is why Swamiji always says the potential divinity. Once we are in touch with that, then we will come to know what exactly is the role one has to play. If we ignore this call from within, then naturally life becomes almost meaningless. Now, what is this uniqueness about women? Whenever I talk of women, I emphasize 2 points: the science of being a woman and the art of being a woman. What is the science? It's not the science we are used to in modern terms, but this science is being deeply rooted in the truth within. It is out of this truth that she has to blossom out. So she must be careful to center her personality in this truth. Probably our spiritual tradition helps a woman to naturally grow into this awareness. When a woman becomes centered in this truth, what we can call as the Vedic, lack of separateness, there is nothing separate. She is able to include everything within her. That is how she becomes centered in truth and start growing from there. Then we would find there is an awareness which makes her, see, when a woman gets married, she becomes aware of herself. She sees herself in her husband also. Atmaiva. There is no difference between the two. She is able to grow in awareness to include her husband. Similarly, when she becomes mother, it's a spiritual growth, a spiritual enhancement of her awareness. Then she becomes one with the children. And in that oneness is present the truth of Advaita. Because unlike a father, when a woman says, "It is my son, my daughter," there is a oneness which is very deeply rooted in that truth of oneness. It is she who has conceived, nurtured the child, another life within. And this nurturing capacity is something, a special gift which has come to her. So in that way, she becomes an embodiment of truth. That is why probably our great rishis start with their injunction to the homegoing brahmacharis, Matru Devo Bhava. They must recognize all this while in the Gurukula, they were learning about this truth, realization of truth, etc., etc. But at home, they are going to see it manifest. That is the difference. Here they studied it, the theory. There they are going to see it manifest. And seeing that truth manifesting itself in their mother, in her love, in her sacrifice, in her service, they should learn to expand their personality. That expansion of personality in a spiritual way will not come out of this Jnana Yoga which they have been trained in the Gurukulas. Now life is going to be practical. Because after studying at the home Gurukula, the mother's Gurukula, that expansion really becomes part of their life. And what is yoga? But expansion. The Vesti expands into the Samashti level. Making use of our body, our mind, our intellect, isn't it? So all these are available at home. Matrudevo Bhava, making mother as a teacher. Enjoying her love centered in this oneness. In her sacrifice, she denies herself everything so that her husband and children will have everything best in the family. Service. The way a mother alone can do this service as none can. The great Shankaracharya we know, he comes back to his mother at her death time, and there is a very beautiful Matra Panchagam in which he says, no one can repay the service which mother has given, carrying us for 10 months. In the final stages, it becomes such a weight. She cannot move properly, she cannot lie down properly, she cannot sit, she cannot work. And after that, the child is born with so much of pain. And after that, for 1 or 2 years, sharing her bed with the child, soaked in his urine. Mother, and he says, no man can repay the service of the mother. So all this, from where she learned, from where did she get? It comes to her spontaneously. I may call it is a Matra Yoga. This expansion means forgetting oneself in the service of others. Or maybe we can say, seeing oneself in the others. That sort of a capacity of service which only a mother can own it. Unparalleled is the mother's capacity to love, to sacrifice and service. We have all heard about this story of this Solomon, King Solomon. When child is brought with 2 mothers, both claiming that this child is mine, the king orders that the child be split into 2. The false mother just listens to it, but the real mother says, no, please don't. Let my child be happy and alive, even if it is with another woman. So many stories and things are there in our Itihasas, Puranas. So when we read these things, we think that we are just stories. Oh, sometime it happened somewhere, sometime. It has no connection with us. No, they are all connected with us. It all shows how our mind should expand, and expand in such a way it takes off from the egoistic self of I, my and mine, and then takes on to a new dimension of awareness. So that only a mother can give. And Indian mothers are famous in all our literature, Puranas and Itihasas. We find this excellence of such motherhood. Sometimes when I talk of Indian woman, I remember some special phrases from Lalita Sahasranama. I mean, there would not be any Hindu who has not heard of the 1,000 names of Divine Mother. In that, there is a special word in the first sloka. I mean, the whole sloka is important, I will come to it, but that particular word I am concerned with is Devakarya Samudyata. There is a special responsibility bestowed on women. Devakarya. She is born to do Devakarya. Devakarya is truth. To be centered in truth and manifest truth. Or we can say, to be centered in divinity and manifest that divinity. Because it is only she who can transfer this practical awareness of truth to the next generation. Devakarya. In Sanatana Dharma, Satya and Dharma have to be transmitted from generation to generation through our words, deeds, everything, through our life itself. Therefore, each woman has a special responsibility. She should understand she is born as a Devakarya Samudyata. But then, how will he come to know of this responsibility? So in the sloka itself comes the answer, Chidagrikunda Sambhuta. This awareness comes to her not from her universe studies or university degrees or research publications or anything like that. This awareness comes to her through intuitively from within to some extent and by the experiences through which she goes through. The sukha and dukkha, the trials and tribulations, all these will be her teachers if she knows how to be centered in the self of truth awareness. And when she becomes such a Devakarya Samudyata, what is the reward she gets? She is not anymore just a mother. She becomes Sri Mata, a mother in whom the best of everything is implanted. She becomes a repository of all that is best. Her spiritual expansion raises her to a very, very highly divine level. Sri Mata. I love that prayoga so much. All our great mothers, not only in Itihasas and Puranas, even from our contemporary literature, a classical example I always quote is Sri Ramakrishna's wife Sri Sarada. A girl who had no knowledge, no education, nothing at all. 5-year-old girl getting married to a 23-year-old priest. But how Sri Ramakrishna developed in her this spiritual awareness. This yoga of becoming a mother of the universe, why, what a wonderful thing. First, he tells her, you have to be like my mother in the Nahabat. Look at her, the way she behaves, her daily activities, her mental condition, the love and sacrifice and service that she offers. All that you learn from her and become in every sense a worldly perfect mother. But then that is not all. You have to combine your Stri Shakti with the Matri Shakti, and being my wife, you have to combine it with the Dharma Shakti. That is why Devaka Samudjata. Sri Ramakrishna elevates Sri Sharada from being a little uneducated girl, illiterate girl, to the possession of Sri Mata. Through that Shodashi Puja, he confers on her this wonderful spiritual awareness of the divinity within, and she becomes aware of the divinity within and realizes it is the same that is there in her husband and master. And it is her duty to keep that divinity ever resplendent in her thought, word and actions, in her love, in her sacrifice, in her service. When such a thing happens, there is no need to take a guidebook to learn about women's empowerment. It comes automatically to her. So the Hedidasa Srama tells, such a Sri Mata, an empowered mother, a mother empowered with her truth awareness, her spiritual expansion, she becomes Sri Maharaji. She will be adored and worshipped by the members of the family. In good old days, the head of the family was of course a father, but the real head was a mother. She had love for everybody, especially when we had joint families and all that. At least some of us may remember our past days when our mothers were so glorious in their life, behavior, not necessarily in the so-called education which bloats up the ego of the woman, but they all were very naturally aware of their spiritual capacity. Spiritual awareness was blossoming in them, and there is a oneness of understanding, oneness, universal oneness. Atmaikya, Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, true love means seeing oneself in the others. In the Kapilopadesha in Bhagavata, Kapila tells mother, when the mother is unhappy that the son is leaving, he tells her, Athamam sarva bhuteshu kritatmanam kritalayam arhayed danamanabhyam maitriya abhinna chakshusha. That is a key word in there. Abhinna chakshu. A mother must have abhinna chakshu. If she has 10 children, she has equal love for all. She may express it in different ways, suiting the character of each child. But her mind will be always filled with the same quantity and quality of love for her children. So that makes a woman Sri Maharakti. As I said, even if the father is the ruler of the family, mother is the empress of the family. It is her love and affection which holds the family together, which sees to it that nobody suffers, nobody is lacking in something, whether it is love or any other thing, care, food, clothing, shelter. And what is the next elevation of hers? Srimat Simhasaneshwari. Such a woman becomes adored by the whole humanity. That is what Sri Sharada starts as a little village girl. Today she is adored as a divine mother, the holy mother. In all the Ramakrishna Sharada ashramas, the pride of place goes to a photograph of Mother Sharada, especially in the dining hall. Because sitting her there, she takes care to see that nothing is lacking. Every child is taken care of. So Simhasaneshwari, she becomes adored. What more empowerment does a woman need? The self-effacement. There is a very beautiful speech made by Swami Ranganathanji Maharaj. I am tempted to read a portion of that, talking about truth in human relationships and the mother's place in it. He says, the increasing liberation of one's deeper self in the context of marriage is what is proposed by Hindu thought. So far as woman is concerned, this is achieved by the wife growing into the mother. That is what we have been discussing now. Not merely, even necessarily biologically, but certainly spiritually. And Swamiji underlines his words. Motherhood is a spiritual transformation of wifehood. In our modern terms, we can say motherhood is the perfect empowerment of a woman. The wife may and does demand and take, but the mother feels it her privilege to give. She is the example of self-transcendence through self-effacement. The spiritual value transcends the biological and even the social and finds expression in an ideal of motherhood where love, sacrifice and service break the barriers of family, race and creed and assume a universal aspect. If such mothers were not available in the Hindu tradition, I wonder whether our great seers would have conceived of the idea of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. It is only here we can think of that. The spiritual expansion of motherhood to cover the whole of this universe. It's only in this Punya Bhumi of ours we can think of such a thing. So that is why the spiritual empowerment of woman, what does it really mean? We must think about it. We'll come to that finally. Now, all this concern was the science of being a woman. Now comes the art of being a woman. That is, this truth which is within her now must take the practical aspects. In the each and every action she does, there should be this sort of an expression. Probably that is why Kapila Vasudevan told Mother Devahuti Maitriya abhinna chakshusa. Dana manabhyam. Maitriya abhinna chakshusa. A woman's day-to-day activities, meeting the people, interacting with the relations. What should be the characteristic mode of her transactions? Maitriya. There should be friendliness at every point. Maitriya. Danamanabhyam. Somewhere you may have to give something to help somebody. Sometimes you have to say a few kind words, and anyway, somebody is in a little depressed. A child has come after not getting enough mark, not full A plus, only 3 or 4 A plus. He may go and jump into a river and kill himself. At that time, console the child with the correct interpretation of life, give and take of life, and then console that child, giving him the proper elevation, enhancement in his courage, self-help, self-confidence. Danamanabhyam. Maitriya danamanabhyam abhinna chakshusha. There should not be any difference. That you are superior, I am inferior, you belong to that caste, I belong to... No, a mother should never express. Again, Saradamani is a classical example of how whatever we had with this woman's empowerment, we could see expressed in a life of a very, very ordinary looking woman who became a divine mother. So that is the real empowerment which we can. So such a person, what happens to that? She transformed every little act of hers into an art. What is the quality of that art? Transfusing with love and her sense of sacrifice and service. When each and every action of ours bears the insignia of love, sacrifice and service, then it is a great art, a living example of an art. That is how the science of being a woman centered in the spiritual awareness of truth and then blossoming forth outside, reacting with the world in the awareness of oneness, depicting it in her thoughts, words and deeds. That is the woman's real empowerment. And how can it be brought out? That will be another question now, isn't it? Swami Vivekananda has given us by Karma Yoga or Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, by one or more, or all of them. All of them are there in a woman. All these are playing their own part to bring out the wholesomeness of womanhood, the perfection in womanhood, the divinity of womanhood. She starts with her Karma Yoga. All karmas are transformed into sacrifice and service. So they assume the characteristic of yajna. So yajna swarupini, she becomes yajna swarupini. That yajna bhavana dominates in her thought, words and actions. She becomes yajna swarupini. And in bhakti, her own children have taught her different grades of love, different expressions of love, different ways of tackling the love, all the different aspects of love. And now all she has to do is just direct it towards her Ishtadevata. Or her love for the Ishtadevata becomes manifest in her behavior with the children. So bhakti always is part of a woman's life. She need not differentiate. Bhakti yoga is part of her very being. Then, what about the real Raja Yoga? Without Raja Yoga, no other yoga is possible, isn't it? Controlling the mind in the proper way, giving the body enough rhythm in its actions. From morning 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, a mother starts getting up and preparing the food and bathing the children and getting the things ready to send the husband. That itself is a great yoga. If you can really watch, they don't have to do Surya Samskars or any other things. Sometimes, when some things fall from my hand, I have to bend and take it. In this old age, I feel I cannot do yoga in the yoga class. But Bhagavan is making me do the yoga. So many things will fall from my hand. So I have to bend up and take it. So it's a very beautiful concept that each and every moment of yours is ordained by God Himself to be a yoga. So without Raja Yoga, you can't be Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Sometimes husbands, other people may behave in a very funny way. Oh, Holy Mother's life is full of that. Her family people were all half mad. So she had so much of trouble, but not a word of admonition. Not a word did she utter against anybody or making any people quarrel among themselves or feel inferior. Every time, words, thoughts and deeds, they were all chiseled in the this thing of truth. So there was no contradiction. So Pujya Vivekananda used to say, once he used a bad word and his mother happened to listen to it. And he called him and said, you know who sits on your tongue? It is Goddess Saraswati. So if you use a bad word, it reflects, goes back to her. So hereafter, see to it that no bad word comes to you. See, when you are in the self-realization mode, seeing the truth everywhere, seeing your own Atma everywhere, then how can you use bad words? You can scold people if they are wrong, but you need not use bad words, wrong expressions, hurting expressions. You can be careful. Consolingly, you can correct your children. So all that becomes mother's characteristics, isn't it? So the art of being a woman. We can read Sharada Devi's life. Another great thing we have to remember at this particular age of ours is our Indian seers saw in woman a replica of nature itself. So for them, it is a woman who was in front of them representing the qualities of nature, the beauty, the harmony, the interrelationships in the nature, interconnectedness, interrelatedness, interdependence in the nature, they saw it all reflected in their wife, in their mother. That is how woman, everything that was beautiful in nature in our Indian tradition, we refer to them as mother. River Ganga is mother. Earth is mother. Isn't it? In that way, almost, that motherliness transcends human this. Even a cat and a little kitten, you will find a beautiful expression of mother. So everywhere, the divine part of motherhood, that came to be appreciated. That is what we lack in today's educated, the so-called empowered women. They forget this art and signs of being the woman. Physically, they empower themselves to become so and so. Materially, they acquire wealth and become so and so. Great ladies. Then, in some art, some culture, they become. But that is all empowerment which are of very short duration. The empowerment the Indian women gave to the Indian heritage is what has made Indian heritage so very glorious. So the need of the hour is to restore the balance of our great planet, Mother Earth. Where should we start? We should start from the very beginning. The act of balancing by recognizing and empowering abodes of truth wherever we can locate them. In the love of the chaste woman for her husband, in the love and sacrifice of an unselfish mother, in the innocence of little children, as yet unspoiled by the evils of life, and in those rare men and women for whom truth is not a tool to play politics, but forms a value of life. That is the empowerment we have to bring back to our women. Then only we can move from fragmentation to wholeness, from death to immortality, and from darkness to light. Therefore, the choice of empowerment at every level has to be spiritual, shifting emphasis from one's own little self and its interest to the welfare of the whole of humanity. This transfer of holistic feeling and action must start from home. Our home should become, our Vivekananda Kendra model now is Amrita Kudumba. The understanding between the members of the family should be based on this awareness of the oneness of the truth and the behavior pattern which follows out of this truth. This wisdom should reach the children through the love in the heart of the mother. Advaita Amrita Varshini. Each mother should become an Advaita Amrita Varshini. Let me conclude quoting myself. In 1993, I was speaking to I exactly remember the title of the meeting which we had, conference. I was speaking in Chicago. At that time I said, the future of mankind, the future of humankind would undoubtedly be safer in the hearts of mothers than in the brain of fathers. That is why I am proud to be a woman belonging to a culture which gave the world the Maha Mantra, Matra Devo Bhava.